want to read you guys something. And if you've spent any time on any section of a TRT video, mine or anybody else's, you've probably seen some version of this. That's not natural. You're cheating. You're just injecting hormones to look better than guys your age should look and feel. That's not real. Look, I've heard from strangers online. I've heard it from friends. I've heard it from family members. I've even heard it from a physician or two who should probably know better. And for a long time, I felt like I had to defend myself when it came up. But I don't anymore. Not because the question doesn't deserve an answer. It does, and I'm going to try to give you one today. But because I've thought it through carefully enough now that the answer just kind of comes to me. And if you're on TRT or you're thinking about it or you're just tired of feeling like you have to justify a medical decision to people who have never looked at your blood work, I want to give you an answer to that too. Let's start with the one part of this argument that I will actually concede. If I were a competitive athlete, if I were standing on stage next to men who had agreed to compete without exogenous hormones and I was using testosterone, that would be cheating. That argument is legitimate in that context. But here's the thing. I'm not competing against anyone. I'm 62 years old. I train in a gym in 55 plus community here in Georgetown, Texas. The only person I'm competing with is the version of myself that existed before the hormones had quietly collapsed on me. There is no podium. There's no rule book. There's no other competitor in this game. I think that the fairness argument requires an opponent. I don't have one. So if that's the version of not natural you're working with, I'd ask you to get a little more precise about who exactly it is that I'm cheating. Now, here's where I want to follow the logic a little bit further, because I think this is where the argument actually really falls apart. Is coffee natural? Caffeine is a stimulant. It measurably alters the alertness, your focus, your physical performance. Every morning, millions of people, including, I'd be willing to bet, some of the people that are making this argument, pour themselves coffee without a second thought. Nobody's calling that cheating. Nobody's saying that you should experience Monday morning in its raw, unmedicated state out of respect to what nature intended. Is a statin natural? Millions of men over 50 take cholesterol medication every day. Their bodies produce too much LDL. That's a natural process, and they intervene pharmacologically to correct it. Nobody questions that. Nobody says, just let nature take its course and see what happens to your arteries. We call it medicine. We call it smart. We call it keeping someone's father around a little bit longer. Is insulin natural? A diabetic whose pancreas no longer produces adequate insulin takes an exogenous hormone from outside the body to replace what their own system can no longer provide. So I would be wanting someone to explain to me what the principle is that makes those interventions okay and testosterone replacement not. Because when you press on it, the answer tends to dissolve. I think what people usually mean when they say that's not natural is that it makes them uncomfortable, or it doesn't fit their picture of what aging is supposed to look like, or they associate it with athletes who are abusing supra-physiological doses, which is a completely different conversation. Those are feelings. Those are not arguments. So can we talk about what TRT actually is? Testosterone replacement therapy. It's not an artificial drug that was developed in a laboratory to create an effect in a human body that was never designed to have. It's the same hormone your body produced naturally for the first 4 or 5 decades of your life. Your endocrine system made it. It drove your energy, your muscles, your development, your mood, your drive, your ability to focus, to compete, to show up fully for the people around you. And then, through the entirely natural process of aging, your body gradually stopped making enough of it. The goal is to return your testosterone to the levels you had in your prime, not to exceed them, not to gain an edge over anyone, just to function the way you were designed to function for as long as possible. If your thyroid stops producing adequate hormone, you take thyroid medication. Nobody questions that. If your pancreas stops producing insulin, obviously you replace it. But if your testes stop producing adequate testosterone, which happens to virtually every man who lives long enough, the logic should be exactly the same. The organ declined, the hormone declined, so you took your fate into your own hands. You invited yourself. That's not cheating nature, that's working with it. And then there's one last version of this I want to address because it's the one that sounds the most reasonable on the surface. You should just let nature take its course. Okay, so which part of nature exactly? The part where testosterone declines and it takes your energy with it? The part where your strength fades, your muscle wastes, your mood flattens, and the man who used to build things and show up fully for the people around him gradually retreats into a smaller, quieter version of himself? Is that the part of nature you want me to honor? Because here's the truth. We intervene in natural processes constantly, every single day, from the moment you put on a pair of glasses to correct your vision, to the moment you take a blood pressure medication, to the moment you have surgery to replace a knee that wore out. You have intervened in a natural process. Nobody is suggesting that you should experience the world as a blur out of respect to what nature intended. Nobody told the guy with the bad knee he should just limp around for the rest of his life, because that's what nature intended. The question has never been whether to intervene. We always intervene. The question is, which interventions are worth making? I've decided that feeling vital and strong and present for my clients, for my family, for myself is worth the intervention. Nearly 20 years of evidence tells me that I made the right call, and I'm not particularly interested in apologizing for it. If that's cheating, then so is every other medical intervention that helps a human body function the way it's designed to, the way it used to. Most people, when they hear it framed that way, go quiet. Not because they're convinced right in that moment. People rarely change their minds in the moment, but because the logic holds and they can feel that it does. So I want to tell you that everything I just covered and a lot more is in my new book. It's called Restore Your Testosterone After 50. It's live right now on Amazon, digital and paperback. And there's a full chapter in there called That's Not Natural. It goes a little deeper on all of this, but the book covers my whole journey, what declining testosterone actually feels like from the inside, how to get the right blood work, what the decision to go to TRT really means, what the first weeks and months feel like, and the side effects that nobody talks about honestly, how to make it work alongside training and nutrition and sleep. It's the book that I wish I'd had in 2010 when I was sitting in my doctor's office about to ask for antidepressants, not knowing that what I was actually looking for was a blood panel. The link is in the description. If any of what I talked about today sounds familiar, the flatness, the fading drive, the feeling that you just accepted being a diminished version of yourself as the new normal, it might be worth a read. Either way, guys, I'll see you in the next one.